So hello everyone, I promise that I will be back with DFT or discrete Fourier transform. So at first let me simply tell you what is Fourier transform. So it is like breaking down something into its constituents. So suppose you are eating a cake, let's say, or a smoothie. To make it simple, let's say so I looked at it somewhere and they explained it in a beautiful way. So you are drinking a smoothie and you want to know what are the ingredients in the smoothie. So something has been mixed together, right? And in order to find that, you run different filters. So you try to make a list of all those things that could be present in a smoothie and you run each filter so that every filter tells you whether that particular thing is present in the smoothie or not. So for example, we have a glass of smoothie. We want to reproduce this smoothie again. Let's say I like this smoothie so much and I want to make it at home. So in order to make it at home, I would need to know what is in there. So I run different filters. So I take this smoothie and I run it through different filters. So these are different filters and the filters tell me whether this smoothie has that or not. So what could be the first thing? We know that smoothie generally has milk. Does it have yes or no? So does it have milk? If it's yes, it's like a kind of like I'm drawing it like a flow chart. Okay, so if it's yes or it's no. So if it's yes, then I add it on to the total thing that makes my smoothie. So if it's no, then I'm going to discard it. Okay, so if it's yes, then we will keep it to reformulate the smoothie again, and if it's no, we are going to discard. So similarly, so after that we could have banana in the smoothie. Do we have banana? Yes or no? If it's yes, again it will go in there, and if it's no, then it will be discarded. Okay, every time it's a no, we know that that is not there present in that signal, or that in this case the smoothie that we are beginning with. So let's say it does have the banana. Let's say it's Y banana, Y milk. Let's say we have mango, we have orange, we have sugar, and let's say these are my possible filters. These are the things that I had that let's say your mother had these things in the refrigerator or at home, and you know that these must be the filters present. So the filters need to be inclusive. You cannot, otherwise you cannot really make that thing. If there is some secret ingredient which filter you do not have, then you will not be able to reproduce this smoothie. So is there a mango? Yes or no? So let's say yes, no. If it's yes, it goes there. If it's no, it discarded. If it's orange, if it's yes, it again goes there. If no, it's discarded. If it's sugar, if it's yes, it goes there, and if it's no, it's discarded. So let's see, in this particular case of a smoothie, the milk is a yes. So we have milk in there, so milk goes in there. Do we have banana? Let's say we do have banana, so banana also goes into my smoothie. Do you have mango? Well, it's a time of mango, and we found that our filter said that the mango is there. Yes, so the mango also went in there. So was there any orange? No, there was no orange. So for the mango it was a yes, for orange it was a no. So we discard the orange, was discarded. So no orange here. And was there sugar there? We found that yes, there was sugar there. So sugar. So if we take this banana, milk, mango and sugar, we get, and we mix them together, then we get back our smoothie. So this breaking it into the different parts is actually Fourier transform, and since we are doing it with discrete well, in this case if the droplets are discrete, then it's discrete Fourier transform, but this is basically Fourier transform, and this remaking it is actually inverse Fourier transform, and we should get back the same characteristic of what we originally had. This smoothie and that smoothie should be the same, or at least taste same, even though in time they are not the same, but it should taste the same, have the exact same considerations. Let us go to a more physical perspective. So let us look at a video of somebody who made, there are lots of YouTube videos which you may look at. So this will look more like the kind of signals we are used to see. So
this sound right here is a pure A, 440 beats per second, meaning if you were to measure the air pressure right next to your headphones or your speaker as a function of time, it would oscillate up and down around its usual equilibrium in this wave, making 440 oscillations each second. A lower pitch note, like a D, has the same structure, just fewer beats per second. And when both of them are played at once, what do you think the resulting pressure versus time graph looks like? Well, at any point in time, this pressure difference is going to be the sum of what it would be for each of those notes individually, which, let's face it, is kind of a complicated thing to think about. At some points, the peaks match up with each other, resulting in a really high pressure. At other points, they tend to cancel out. And all in all, what you get is a wave-ish pressure versus time graph that is not a pure sine wave. It's something more complicated. And as you add in other notes, the wave gets more and more complicated. But right now, all it is a combination of 4 pure frequencies. So it seems needlessly complicated given the low amount of information put into it. A microphone recording any sound just picks up on the air pressure at many different points in time. It only sees the final sum. So our central question is going to be how you can take a signal like this and decompose it into the pure frequencies that make it up. Pretty interesting, right? Adding up those signals really mixes them all together. So pulling them back apart feels akin to unmixing multiple paint colors that have all been stirred up together. The general strategy is going to be to build for ourselves a mathematical machine that treats signals with a given frequency differently from how it treats other signals.
So this is what we are trying to do. So we are trying to break down the final product into its constituent parts. So in doing so, when we are talking about signals and stuff, we try to think that such a signal, an oscillation like that, can be said to be, so when it's in space, it's just an oscillation. As soon as we consider the time, we will consider it to be a cycle. So you must have seen cycles like that in a circle when a small ball rotates in the cycle, right? So the frequency of rotation is basically going to give us this particular kind of oscillations. So it oscillates in time and space. So that is what is given by e to the power twice pi I over n. So this function that we are seeing, so that is the function into kn. This actually has a real part. So what is e to the power I x? That is cos x plus I sin x. So similarly, this function here has cos of 2 pi kn over n minus I sin of 2 pi kn over capital N. So this is the function that we are going to use, and here this k is actually going to tell us what it will be the frequency. So when we write the formula for Fourier transform, we are writing it as, suppose we have small xk, that is we have x1, x2, x3, etc. X is a function of t, where x is a function of t, let's say, and we have n such points up to xn, a set of such values. Then these set of data or this data points can be discretely Fourier transformed, because they are discrete points here. They can be discretely Fourier transformed to another set where it is capital X of n. or capital X of again capital X of, and this is not a function of t but it's a function of frequency. Okay, if this is a function of time, then this is a function of 1 over time or frequency. So that's why it's mostly called the time domain. From the time domain we go to the frequency domain. So just like in the case of the sound waves that we just heard, so x of n, so we are going to capital X of 1, X of 2, X of 3, and so on and so forth to capital X of n. So these are the different things that we are going to get. So this is another sequence which we are getting. And how do we get that? Any value x of k. So this is the frequency we are looking for. Is it a frequency 400? Is it the frequency 240? Is it the frequency 2? Is it the frequency 1? How do we know it? We know by that is equal to n minus 1, n goes from 0, x of n e to the power minus 2 pi I over n k of n. Okay, so here does not, x doesn't go from n equal to 1. If my x goes from 1 to n, then I will write 1 to n. Otherwise it will go from 0 to n minus 1. So if it goes from, I'll change the color, if it goes from x0 x1 to xn minus 1, then we have again x0 x1 to capital X n minus 1, and then this will become 0 and this will become n minus 1 instead of n. Okay, so it depends on how you're going to write it, but at the end of the day what do we have is we can find this xk. So we can find each part of xk, which is nothing but a function, and which has now a real part and imaginary part. What is the real part of this capital xk? That is equal to summation n goes from 1 to capital N xn cos of 2 pi k n over capital N. So it's the sum of all the small xn values into cos of 2 pi k n over n. And what is the imaginary part of this value? So the imaginary part of x of k is equal to summation n goes from 1 to n xn sine of 2 pi k n over n, and this is a minus. So minus I into this part. So because in your programs you cannot really plot a plus ib, what you're going to get is you will be able to get a real value of xk and imaginary value of xk. So now what you can plot is, we can plot real part of xk. You can vary the different k's. You can look at the various frequencies as a function of k, or you can also write or draw the imaginary part of xk as a function of k, right? And that is going to tell you which one is allowed and which is disallowed. Okay, so how would you, this is the discrete Fourier transform. What would be the inverse Fourier transform? So now we had xk's, from there we get capital xk's by discrete Fourier transform. So then we can do an inverse discrete Fourier transform to get back our small xk's. That means we are making the smoothie again. We are again mixing all the signals. How do we do that? The small xk is equal to 1 over n summation n goes from 0 to n minus 1, or 1 to n, as you please to call them, capital X e to the power 2 pi I over n k of n. So what is this n? Capital N is the total number of points, as you can see, and the small n is this counter n. If you are confused, you can use something else instead of this n. You can use a j or whatever you want. Okay, so this capital N is the total number of points that you have in the series. So that is what it basically is. So what are you going to do in the program? So in your program you can, if you have a set of data xk, you can form the capital xk, where you will have a separate real part and an imaginary part, because you cannot handle them together. And then once you have xk, you can again do the inverse discrete Fourier transform to get back the xk's. So sometimes it may have the exact same value or form, and sometimes it does not. So I will in a while discuss with you the different questions that we had given for your